Edward Leos. Welcome to Travel Talk, filmed at the Peachtree Rose Marketing Studios and hosted by the Hotel Guide publisher, Edward Leos.
Good afternoon, everybody. Edward Leos here, publisher of the Hotel Guide and your host of Travel Talk. Really excited about today's episode. I got a good guest and a good friend, Ben Webster with Hotel Marcel. They are doing some innovative and some incredibly unique things that are basically becoming trend-setting. And so I'm really excited about sharing that with our guests today. And Ben, I'm just happy to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me in. I'm excited to catch up on all things Hotel Marcel and some of the cool things we're doing here.
Sounds like a plan. Well, as I like to do with all of my guests, I'd love to know a little bit about you, how you got to the point where you are now, because our listeners love to know, hey, who are you talking to, Edward? And so let's talk that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the hotel.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not a very exciting story, but I was 24 years now in the industry. I started parking cars, carrying bags as a teenager at a 5-star, 5-diamond property here in Connecticut, which is where Hotel Marcel is, home for me. I spent about 13 years at that property, and the beauty of those little independent luxury hotels, you kind of do a bit of everything as you're growing. And I grew to be an AGM there, and then I've been general manager for about 11 years now. I've been very fortunate to, probably 5-6 states. I lose track of that. But from Greenville to Nashville to Colorado to time in Florida, time in Vermont, but ended up, everything kind of comes full circle. You end up back here in Connecticut. I've been very, very fortunate to work mostly with independents and a lot of very passionate independent owners. Hotel Marcel is part of the Hilton Tapestry collection. So this was my most recent stop and maybe final stop here at Hotel Marcel in New Haven, Connecticut. The last 7+ years I've spent with a great management company called Charlestown Hotels. Mm-hmm. So we spend a lot of time with those smaller independents, opening hotels, a little bit of everything, but nice to be back home. I've been here at Hotel Marcel now for about the last 2 years, 2 years. Yeah. Back here at the hotel. And it really is my first foray into branded properties as well. But this property is just so unique in its, it's very iconic in its history here in Connecticut. So it's a building I was always familiar with and I've never seen or been in before or anything like that. And now just to come back home to Connecticut to continue the spirit of hospitality, but really pushing for being kind of that model for what future hospitality future can look like from a sustainability perspective is just great. So great management company and been around the block. So happy to be home now.
Now it seems like we both have. We were talking offline a little bit about that, and our paths and what got us to where we are today. But one of the big things that really piqued my interest about Hotel Marcel is the sustainability opportunities that you're doing there, and actually taking sustainability to another level. I've had many podcasts that people are talking about. Sustainability is the next big thing with regards to destinations, hotels. But you are taking it beyond, hey, we got a recycle bin in our hotel room and we're calling ourselves sustainable. And so why don't you tell our guests a little bit about the big things that y'all are doing there at Hotel Marcel and how it's really impacting not only guests, but the community?
Well, guest community and bottom line too, I think, right? So a lot of that, I think, what starts with, I'll start with our owner. So this is an adaptive reuse building. Mm-hmm. The short answer of Hotel Marcel, 165 keys in this old historic building, his old Pirelli tire headquarters here in New Haven, right on Long Wharf, looks over the water. And the building was empty for 20 years. Wow. And it's this brutalist icon. Marcel Brauer, our namesake, was the original architect. And, he kind of founded that brutalist movement and taught most of those influential brutalist architects over in the early 70s. So the building had been around since 69, but again, empty for 20 years. And there was talks about leveling it. And so when you pair our owner, Bruce Becker, he's an architect, but he was also the owner, developer, and architect. So he's kind of all of it. So we didn't have a lot of people to argue with. And I tease Bruce all the time. I say he was able to do this because he didn't know any better, but he set one ultimate goal out of just saying, we're not going to use any fossil fuels in this building, zero emissions. So we currently can say, and I think 2025, there's maybe 2 or 3 more opening in the country, but we are one of one. We're the only full service zero emission hotel in the US. So when we talk about sustainability and hospitality, a lot of it starts there, the decarbonization of the building. So not only did probably the best thing we recycled was the building itself. So the embedded carbon, we didn't really have to, we were able to protect and reduce a lot of that embedded carbon. And then from a operational perspective, Bruce was able to tackle the 4 big elements: domestic hot water, a kitchen. We have a full induction kitchen here. We have 6 of the first 7 heat pump industrial commercial-based dryers here in the U.S., which are compared to a more traditional electric commercial dryer, which is not very good. Those products, they're like 85% more efficient. So, and domestic water and HVAC. So we're able to, boiler. We're able to do all those things with the heat pump based technology. Some great partners in Mitsubishi and a few others that were able to come in and really help us make that vision of Bruce's come together. And so, owner had a great vision, but now as we've been open a little over 2 years, May of 2022, we opened, so 2.5 years. It's amazing. Hotel Marcel, I think right now is at this brilliant point of when you have an owner, a management company, and myself, an on-property team who kind of all have that shared same vision, passion. We're doing this with intention. We're not just opening a hotel for the sake of opening a hotel, right? We're doing it with an intention to say we are 100% electric. We're 100% powered by renewable energy, of which majority of that is actually produced here on site. We have about just shy of 1,100 solar panels. So we actually make most of it ourselves. And Bruce also was able to, he's actually speaking today at a Passive House conference. And Passive House is a word a lot of people don't know, but they're going to know it soon. You can't open a new residential building in the state of Massachusetts unless it's meeting Passive House certification. It is a kind of an international standard for building energy efficiency. That's a short answer there. So we are the only Passive House certified hotel in the U.S., the largest in the world. It's very popular in Europe, but all the states are adopting it. Well, the U.S. is a little slow to adopt some of these things. Sure. And that's where Hotel Marcel has really been that pioneer. So, we have the ability to say that we are all of those things right now. And it's amazing to see over the last year as public policies change in a lot of cities and states right now where you can't have a gas line to your building in New York, right? If you're over a certain square footage. Certain cities you're paying, if you're one of some of the top emissions offenders in the U.S., you're paying penalties starting next year, right? So these buildings are there's real money there. So they're actually coming through now. Bruce and I do tours all the time of like, how did you build this? So the physical building itself, and for people to say you can't do it, we did it in a pandemic in a historic building. We are also on the Historic National Registry, and be able to become that full first zero emission building hotel in the U.S. It's just incredible that we were able to check all those boxes and now be a model and an inspiration for others that we know are starting to come. And what does that do from a guest perspective, right? I think that's the other part. Fun to build it all and go through those things, but what is the real impact there? Well, every Fortune 500 company, every hospitality brand, everybody's talking about how do we reduce our carbon footprint. I don't have any. I don't have any emissions. So, when people are looking, there's a lot of hotel companies and individual properties that are now using offsets to say that they do certain things. Yeah, I don't need offsets. I don't have any fossil fuels to start with here, right? So I think that's been a pretty incredible feat that we've been able to tackle. And it just started by not taking no for an answer. And, being part of the Hilton Tapestry collection, obviously we work very well with a great relationship with Hilton and their team, but every brand has come through here to say, like, what are they doing? How's this working? Because they've made promises to shareholders. Now they have to live that message. And we get to live that message from a building perspective, as we get into my team and what we do here now. It's continuing to challenge the operation, those scope 3 emissions, that sort of thing of how do we source differently? How do we, everything's on the table. Yes is the answer, right? Like what are we doing here as we try to bring, staff will be like, I think we could do, save emissions if we order from this place? All right, let's look at that, right? How much would that actually save? So everybody here is really working towards that same goal, and that's incredible.
Mhm.
And we're happy to take phone calls and tours and that sort of thing for all of our hospitality friends who have similar goals or aspirations. We're happy to help them get to that point.
That's awesome. I love the ownership mindset of your team, and the fact that you guys encourage that with them, because that's the only way you're going to get better as an organization. That's how you think outside the box. And so, from a hospitality perspective, that's a unique concept. Well, not just hospitality, but in business in general.
Well, and I don't think a lot of Bruce is not our owner is not a traditional hotel owner. This is his first hotel, right?
Yeah.
He just doesn't know any better. So I think other hotel owners, and they ask all the questions, and operators, everybody asks, the management companies all ask the same question. They're like, that's great. How much more did it cost? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're doing our part, and we'll continue to do more towards decarbonization and our future of sustainability here, there's also a return on it. I think the amount of energy this building takes with our passive house rated windows and all the energy efficient systems that we have, our lighting system is a low voltage PoE system with a great partner Sinclair that we use. Those Mitsubishi systems we have for our domestic hot water and some of these other systems, they didn't cost more to put in. And if they did, it was kind of incremental, and Bruce is not in an immediate position to want to flip the property or anything. But we run about a third of what a traditional property would be in utilities. So I'm driving $250,000 plus a year to the bottom line in savings for things that didn't really cost much more. And certain states have different incentives. So Connecticut being a pretty favorable state for some of those incentives. So month over month, it actually is helpful on the P&L, as well as I think owners see returns. That's the first question people ask. Like, well, what do these cost? Does it make sense? Well, I don't see a reason now, particularly given like some of the air quality in our building. We change the air out, 3 times an hour sort of thing. So we have some of the best air quality, incredibly quiet building because of our passive house requirements. And it's a healthier building and one that's doing it with zero emissions. It all just kind of makes sense, and it makes sense financially. So it's good for the staff, it's good for the guests, it's great for the bottom, P&L, and certainly for the environment.
Well, that's perfect. As we got a few minutes here, I always like to switch it to ask a quick personal question, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. 15 minutes goes by way too fast. But this is some great stuff. So travel, obviously we're in the hospitality industry. We love to travel. Any bucket list travel ideas for you that are on your bucket list? For me, boy,
I lived outside of my home state for so long that any travel was to come back to see family for a period of time. So now that we're back home, I have a 3-month-old now. So traveling is low on the list of places we're going right now. But there's a lot of great places in Europe right now that I'm interested to go out and see. Croatia, I think, is on my list. I'd love to go out and see Croatia. I had an employee come back from there, and my wife and I have been talking about that one for a long time. Maybe in a little bit once the baby's older. Yeah,
that's one of the first of my guests that has mentioned Croatia as on their bucket list. So that's pretty cool. To hear that. So we got a couple of minutes here. Yeah. Any final thoughts on the property or anything in general? And what's the best way for our guests to find out information on Hotel Marcel?
Yeah. Let's see. Final thoughts. I think one of the things we talked about, all the amazing things the building's doing, and the unique things that we have here that kind of differentiators from other properties from an emissions perspective. You don't have to sacrifice, right? There's no lapse in quality in what we're getting here and what we're providing, and I think that's important. Mm-hmm. I have an incredible chef and culinary program here. Everything's sourced within 250 miles, scratch kitchen, that sort of thing. Wow. So you don't have to sacrifice to have. We see that with our events, right? I have 9,000 square feet of meeting space here, and we talk. Every Fortune 500 company has those ESG missions. Well, now they don't have an excuse. They can live their model. You can host a meeting for 200 people and not need offsets to where you're making the decision, and you don't have to sacrifice quality. So, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. And I'm excited now to see as the industry continues to evolve and change with, the OTAs and Google and all these other places now that are trying to get the message of sustainability out. I'm really excited to see how the travel industry over these next couple of years continues to evolve, and we're happy to be at the forefront of it and try to help any way we can.
Well, perfect. What's the website where our guests can find you?
Yeah, hotelmarcel.com. Super easy. Find us on LinkedIn. Find me. Easy to find.
Sounds like a plan. Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Travel Talk podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here.
No, it's going to be great. To all our guests, to all our listeners and readers out there, follow us at thehotelguide.com. Like, share, subscribe. This is a keeper of a podcast. If you're ever up on the East Coast, you got to go check out Hotel Marcel for what they're doing innovatively, but just for the stay as well. So we will have their web address in our comments as well, so you can find them too. But until next time, travel, make memories, and we'll talk soon. Everybody, take care.
Thank you.